One of the best citizenships you can have at the moment is being a citizen of Singapore. Singapore is the sixth safest country in the world. It has a 0% taxation rate on capital gains. It has a 17% corporate tax rate and a max 24% personal income tax rate. It is also extremely clean. You may have heard that it's illegal to chew gum in Singapore, and it has a great transportation system. It sounds a lot similar to another successful country you may have heard of, the UAE, and its city of Dubai. The difference between Dubai and Singapore, though, is that you can actually attain Singapore citizenship fairly easily. In this video, I'm going to go over how you can attain citizenship in one of the most business-friendly countries in the entire world. Let's get into it. Hello, my name is Tristan, the Yonderpreneur. I help people learn to become sovereign individuals. What does that mean? I help you learn to live a life of geographic and financial freedom. The best part of geographic freedom is you can choose what country you want to operate out of. In this case, if you want to operate out of the most business-friendly country in the world, Singapore might be that choice. You might have this feeling of being stuck in your Western country that is increasingly becoming less and less business friendly. Well, you don't have to be this way. If you can become a sovereign individual who has skills and talents, you can go to the countries that will reward you for taking risks, that will reward you for working hard. And I believe Singapore is one of these places. Singapore was once nothing more than a swamp, a discarded part of Malaysia that Malaysia didn't really want, and it was a backwater. It was a swamp, quite literally. It wasn't until the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, who came in and imposed strong rule of law and business-friendly initiatives that transformed this nothing, this swamp, into the prosperous nation that we know today. I believe that most countries on this earth can become successful in one way or another. It just depends a lot on what kind of leadership runs that country. Singapore has been following a model of selective immigration, whereas in Canada, the United States, and Europe, if you show up with a heartbeat, you are welcomed in. In Singapore, you have to actually contribute something. What skills do you have? Are you educated? These are things that they look at if you want to live in Singapore. As the years have gone on, Singapore's immigration policies have only become more restrictive. When you build a place that is phenomenal for business, that is extremely safe and clean, you're going to attract a lot of people. Many people around the world want to live in Singapore because of the qualities that it has created. Now, Singapore has the ability to pick only the best people who are coming into Singapore. It doesn't have to be so lucrative. It can just choose, this person is a top-rated engineer. We want him. This person who doesn't have any skills, who is a bricklayer. We don't really need bricklayers at the moment. We need engineers. So they're going to be able to pick only the best people to become citizens of Singapore. So the number one thing in becoming a Singapore citizen is actually to become Singapore permanent resident first. To become a Singapore citizen, you need to have Singapore permanent residency for at least 2 years prior. Or there is another way to do this. If you have 2.5 million Singapore dollars, or about 1.8 million US dollars, you can invest this money into Singapore's economy either through starting a business or approved funds, and this will give you a fast-tracked Singapore citizenship option. And there is a third option that I am going to mention. It's probably none of you guys watching. It's just if you guys are like me in any way, this isn't you. Singapore is looking for internationally recognized artists. Although it's been very successful in being a very friendly place to do business, it has become kind of culturally dead. There isn't a whole lot of art and, I guess you could say, passion and color in Singapore. So they want to change this by bringing in, very well known artists who can contribute to the Singapore economy by bringing their talents in. So if you are a well-respected artist and you want to be a Singapore citizen, that's the path for you. So of those three options that I just mentioned, either getting permanent residency, a large investment, or being an international artist, permanent residency sounds like that would be the easiest one. So I'm going to go into a little bit of a dive here and explain what it takes to become a permanent resident in Singapore. Then you can become a citizen later, but baby steps, one step at a time. If you want permanent residency by going through the route of being a skilled worker, it'll take about 4 to 7 years. This is just what I've heard from people on the ground who are going through this process. It's kind of a gray area. It just depends a lot on how much you've contributed to Singapore during your stay. If you're coming in as a worker, there are a bunch of different kind of visas you can get to work in Singapore. I'll briefly go through a few of them here. The number one work visa is the employment pass, which is a 2-year work visa, which is renewable for executives who are moving to Singapore who are making more than $3,750 a month. Another visa that you can get to work and live in Singapore is the Entree Pass visa. This gives you a 1-year visa to come to Singapore to start a business. This visa is renewable on grounds that your business is actually, making money. This business visa is a little bit more complicated than other business visas around the world. It has a lot more requirements. For the Entree Pass, the requirements are you have to actually submit a business proposal to the government of Singapore. You have to have a background, so you personally have to have a background of entrepreneurship, of starting businesses in other places. And the third thing is you actually need to be funded. So either it's personal funding or venture capital funding. You have to actually have to prove that you have money to start the business. Another visa that you can get to work and live in Singapore is the Personalized Employment Pass, which is almost like a really glorified digital nomad visa. If you make $16,920 US monthly, from a foreign company, you can get this visa and you can live in Singapore for 3 years and it is renewable. So it's very similar to what you see in digital nomad visas for Japan, Spain, Italy, and other countries. It's just a really high requirement. And in this case, though, it actually goes towards a Singapore permanent residency and then Singapore citizenship. So if you make this kind of money, this is actually a really solid visa. The last visa I'm going to mention here is called the S-Pass visa. The S-Pass visa is the simplest visa to get of the ones that I've highlighted here. It's used to attract mid-level talents into Singapore. If you are employed by a Singapore company and you're making at least 3,000 Singapore dollars a month, which is about 2,250 US dollars a month, then you can get this 2-year renewable work visa. So once you spend about 4 to 7 years in Singapore on a working visa, then you can finally apply for Singapore permanent residency. Then once you spend 2 years as a permanent resident of Singapore, then and only then can you apply for Singapore citizenship. So this citizenship can take between 6 to 9 years to get. So in no way is it an easy citizenship to get. However, it's a lot easier than trying to get the UAE citizenship, Dubai, where it's only really given out by example. So you have to really be a prominent person to get that citizenship. For example, Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank is a UAE citizen, but just the average person with a business who is moving to the UAE probably isn't going to get UAE citizenship. So the difference between the UAE and Singapore is even the average business owner has a chance of becoming a citizen. But although it takes a long time, it might be well worth the wait. To become a citizen of Singapore, you now have one of the best passports in the world. You have visa free access to almost every country in the world. It is one of the best when it comes to visa free access. You get the option to live in a country that respects the rule of law, that is very clean, that is business friendly, that is tax friendly, that is well located, has amazing transit. So, Singapore checks a lot of boxes of those aspects of life that you're probably looking for in your country. If you are living in Singapore and you are going through the process of becoming a permanent resident or a citizen, leave it in the comments below of how things are going. Also, tell us about what your favorite things about living in Singapore are. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See you.